The laughter started before she even finished tying her belt. A room full of experienced fighters watched the nervous female rookie struggle with a basic stance while the dojo's most arrogant black belt stood over her, smiling. Then he deliberately knocked her training bag across the floor and told everyone she had no business being there. She lowered her eyes, picked up the bag, and said nothing. What nobody knew was that the quiet woman had once endured a level of training where panic could get people hurt, hesitation could cost lives, and discipline mattered more than pride. She hadn't come to the dojo to prove she was dangerous. She had come because she was trying to learn how to live a normal life again. But when the bully crossed one final line, something buried deep inside her suddenly took over. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and giving people the opportunity to discover their own strength, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave a comment, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries. Sometimes the person everyone underestimates is fighting a battle nobody can see. Her name was Elowen Hart, a 32-year-old woman who had recently moved to a quiet town after years of living a life she rarely discussed. She rented a small apartment above a bakery, worked part-time helping organize emergency supplies for a local charity, and spent most evenings alone. She had no social media presence, no desire for attention, and almost no photographs from her past. Her neighbors knew her as polite but private. She smiled when people greeted her, helped carry groceries for elderly residents, and always arrived at work early. Nobody knew that several years earlier, Elowen had served with a highly trained British Special Forces support unit and had completed demanding SAS-related training before leaving that world behind. She had learned how to remain calm under pressure, how to move with purpose, and how to protect herself without allowing anger to control her. But after an operation that ended with the death of someone she cared deeply about, Elowen had decided that she didn't want her entire identity to revolve around surviving dangerous situations. She wanted an ordinary life. That was why she joined the dojo. She wasn't looking for competition. She wasn't trying to become a champion. She simply wanted to rebuild her confidence in a safe environment. Her first week was difficult. Her footwork was rusty, her timing was awkward, and she often overthought simple movements. She made mistakes that experienced students found obvious. But she kept coming back. The dojo's instructor, Alistair Rowan, recognized something unusual about her almost immediately. Elowen's technique was beginner level, but her awareness wasn't. She always noticed where people were standing. She automatically chose positions that gave her a clear view of the exits. When someone approached from behind, she seemed to know before they reached her. Alistair wondered about it, but he didn't press her. He understood that some people carried histories they weren't ready to share. Unfortunately, one student had no such patience. His name was Maddox Crane, a 26-year-old black belt who had become the unofficial star of the dojo. Maddox was athletic, fast, and talented. He had won local competitions and enjoyed reminding everyone about it. Younger students admired him, but many were uncomfortable around him. He had a habit of humiliating beginners because their mistakes made him feel powerful. He called it motivation. Everyone else knew it was bullying. For several days, Maddox watched Elowen struggle. He laughed whenever she missed a movement. He smirked whenever Alistair corrected her. Eventually, he began deliberately standing near her during training. One afternoon, Elowen was practicing a basic defensive movement when Maddox interrupted her. He told her that she was wasting everyone's time. She apologized and moved to another section of the mat. Maddox followed her. He said that if she was too nervous to train properly, she should go home. Elowen ignored him. That irritated him. He took her practice pad and tossed it across the room. Several students looked over. Elowen walked to retrieve it. Maddox laughed and told the others that this was what happened when people who had never fought before tried to act like martial artists. Elowen said nothing. She picked up the pad. Then he stepped in front of her. He asked whether she was even capable of defending herself. She quietly said she was there to learn. Maddox smiled and told her that some people were simply not built for fighting. Alastair heard him and warned him to stop. Maddox reluctantly walked away. But the humiliation stayed with Elowen. That night, she sat alone in her apartment while rain tapped against the window. She stared at her hands. For years, those hands had been trained to react when other people froze. Now she had chosen a life where she didn't need to react. She wanted to be ordinary. But being ordinary was harder than she had imagined. The next morning, she nearly quit. Then she remembered why she had joined. She returned to the dojo. Maddox noticed. And this time, he decided to push even harder. During a group exercise, he deliberately challenged Elowen to spar. Alastair told him that she wasn't ready for him. Maddox laughed and said he would go easy. Elowen refused. Maddox mocked her. The other students became uncomfortable. Finally, Alastair stepped between them and ended the argument. Maddox walked away, but his pride had been damaged. Later that afternoon, Elowen stayed behind to practice. She thought the dojo was nearly empty. She was wrong. Maddox returned. He told her that if she wanted people to take her seriously, she needed to stop hiding behind the instructor. Elowen said she wasn't hiding. Maddox stepped closer. He told her to prove it. He suddenly grabbed the sleeve of her training uniform and pulled. Elowen froze. For one brief second, the dojo disappeared. She wasn't standing beneath fluorescent lights anymore. She was somewhere else. A different room. Different faces. Different danger. She remembered the years of training where instructors had shouted until hesitation disappeared. She remembered learning that panic was a physical reaction but discipline was a choice. She remembered being taught to breathe before moving, observe before reacting, and never let an opponent's aggression dictate her decisions. Then she looked back at Maddox. Her breathing changed. Her shoulders relaxed. Her eyes became focused. Something inside her shifted. Maddox tried to pull her forward again. Elowen moved. Not violently. Not recklessly. She simply redirected his momentum and stepped outside his reach. Maddox stumbled. He turned in surprise. He rushed toward her. Elowen moved again. A second later, Maddox found himself off balance and sitting on the mat. The entire dojo had gone silent. Several students had witnessed everything. Alastair stood near the doorway. He wasn't shocked that Elowen had defended herself. He was shocked by how efficiently she had done it. Maddox stood up, embarrassed. He attacked again. Elowen avoided him and created distance. She never struck him. She never chased him. She simply kept him from controlling the situation. Maddox tried once more. Elowen calmly redirected him. He fell onto the mat. This time, she immediately stepped away. No celebration. No insult. No smile. Just control. Maddox stared at her. He couldn't understand what had happened. Alastair walked onto the mat. He asked Elowen where she had learned to move like that. She hesitated. Then she finally admitted that she had undergone military training. Maddox laughed nervously and asked what kind. Elowen didn't answer immediately. She looked at the students around her. Then she explained that she had once trained alongside people who were expected to operate under extreme pressure. She had learned discipline from instructors who cared more about judgment than aggression. She had learned that the objective wasn't to look powerful. It was to make the safest decision possible when everything around you was falling apart. Alastair understood. He asked whether she had been involved in special forces training. Elowen nodded. She didn't describe operations. She didn't name locations. She simply said that her training had taught her something she had forgotten. Strength without control was dangerous. And control without compassion was empty. Maddox sat quietly on the edge of the mat. For the first time since anyone had known him, he didn't have a comeback. He looked at Elowen. She told him that she hadn't wanted to embarrass him. She had only wanted him to stop. That sentence affected him more than losing the sparring session. Because Maddox suddenly realized that Elowen could have humiliated him. She didn't. She could have attacked. She didn't. She could have mocked him in front of everyone. She didn't. She had shown him more respect than he had shown her. Over the following weeks, Maddox changed slowly. At first, nobody trusted the change. But then he started helping beginners. When someone made a mistake, he corrected them instead of laughing. He stopped using his rank to intimidate others. One afternoon, a nervous 12-year-old student struggled with a defensive movement. Maddox walked over, demonstrated it slowly, and encouraged the child to keep practicing. Alistair watched from across the room. Elowen saw it too. She smiled. Maddox eventually approached her after class.